Oh, I always take myself off because you're the star of the show. So good afternoon, and thank you so much for this time together. Could you tell us your name and what do you do?
Sure. I'm Elizabeth Wilson. I am a commercial transactional lawyer, do a lot of compliance work as well. And just anything legal, I'm game.
So if I was 8, how would you explain what you do?
I do a lot of contract negotiating, be it technology contracts, employment contracts, your basic commercial contracts for anything and everything. So from rented office plants to cleaning service to we want to make a $20 million deal with another company. So it runs the gamut.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I love it, but I'm loving Austin.
God, I can't imagine the weather. What was life like growing up in Chicago?
Life in Chicago was very interesting. You had a lot of diversity, a lot of activity in the city. And I lived in the city itself. A lot of people say I'm from Chicago and they live in a suburb 75 miles out, but that's okay. They can still claim Chicago. It was interesting. There was never a dull moment. There was everything from a cultural perspective to, sports, just anything you can imagine. You could find it in the city, different types of food. So you were exposed to different cultures, different food, different languages. You can run into pockets within the city and majority of the people will not speak English. They'll speak a different language. So you could have, Italian, you could have Asian Americans, you could have Hispanic, you could have Polish or any of the other Slavic languages. So you name it, it's there.
Tell us how you got into the legal field. What made you decide to become a lawyer?
I pretty much decided junior, senior year in high school that I wanted to go to law school. I started working part-time jobs when I was 16. And I decided very early on, I didn't want people telling me what to do when they really had no clue themselves. So I said, what's a job I can do where I can make my own decisions, live by the sword, die by the sword. But I wanted to make my own decisions. I didn't want people making decisions for me that basically just weren't qualified. And so I said, okay, what professions will allow me to do that? And I settled on law school. I had parents that didn't just take, I want to do this, a simple type of response to requests that you made. You always had to be, my mother always said, why? You had to be able to give a logical, rational explanation for why you wanted to do something and why it would be beneficial. And so I kind of grew up coming up with a logical thought process.
So describe what it's like being a Black female lawyer.
It has had interesting moments. When I first started practicing, I was in litigation, and I can remember going to court and a judge telling me to sit down and wait for my attorney to show up. And I was like, well, okay. And I kept trying to respectfully say, Your Honor, I am the attorney. And he kept saying, ma'am, sit down and wait for your attorney to show up. And so finally, I kind of got a little frustrated. Okay, more than a little. I was angry at that point. But again, this was the judge. And, I kind of looked around the courtroom. There were not a lot of females in there. And the only African Americans in that courtroom were defendants. This was a civil court. And so finally, I just said, Your Honor, I am the attorney. I stated my name and stated the corporate client that I represented. And he just kind of looked and like, okay, moving right along. And when I left the courtroom, one of the security deputies of the courthouse said, "Oh, I'm just so happy to see you. And I'm just so proud that you're here representing." And that meant a lot to me. And so I kind of remembered that every time, I went to court, that there's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of people that want you to do well. There are those that don't, but there are a lot of people that really want you to do well. And how can I, handle myself in that situation where the judge leans over the bench and tells you, "I don't care what the law says, counsel." Okay, plan B. Now, let's have our next argument. And being able to proceed forward no matter what they are throwing at you, no matter what opposing counsel, a lot of times they were not real civil. And so it was like, you can call me what you want. Here's what's going to happen. And here's what we're going to do. And when you're done ranting and raving, we're coming back to the facts and it'll all be on the record. And, I'm just not going to play that game with you. And it would frustrate some of the opposing counsel to no end because I would not deviate and get into a screaming match or just, to me, totally unprofessional behavior. Didn't mean I wasn't feeling it inside. They were never going to see it.
Absolutely. Wow. What advice would you give your younger self?
Relax. Continue to be prepared. But relax. You'll be okay. I was very nervous. I was probably, for most things, way over prepared. Just because I did not want to appear like I didn't know what I was doing, even if I didn't. You cannot, show that to the other side as a litigator. At the time I was litigating, I started out litigating and I was in court a lot because I worked for a small to mid-sized firm. So I didn't have that kind of ramp up time. If you go to a larger firm, you're doing a lot of paperwork, you're doing a lot of background things before you actually see the inside of a court. And so I was in a courtroom very early. And so I had to learn quickly, I had to adapt quickly, and just be prepared. I had corporate clients and they wanted representation, they were paying for representation, and it needed to be top notch.
Amazing. What life lessons have you learned?
That you will make mistakes, own them, don't make that same mistake again, and move on. Don't dwell on it. There's no such thing as perfect. And, just keep moving forward. And so, you're going to miss things in life, be it in litigation, be it from a transactional matter. Now I'm to the point where I may not know what it is that's nagging at me about a particular agreement, but I will say, you know what, we got to take a minute. I'll get back to you on this because I need to stop and reread it, rethink it. Something in there is nagging me. They say, pay attention to your gut, pay attention when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. I pay attention because there's usually something in there that may not be readily apparent that I'm not seeing, that I need to pay attention to.
Awesome. If you had a gigantic billboard anywhere in the world and you could get a message out to millions or billions of people, what would that message be?
Be kind and do what's right. And I think a lot of times people mistake kindness for weakness. It is not. But you can be kind, you can be civil, and you can do the right thing. And you can stand up for yourself and you can be firm. All of that goes with that. But there's a way to do it.
How has failure or a challenge or apparent failure set you up for later success?
If you don't push yourself, if you never fail, you have no idea what you can or cannot do. I had parents that always told me, you can be whatever you want to be, you can do, what you want to do in life, you're going to have to work for it. And I believed them. And so if I went for something and I failed at it, I would assess the situation. Okay, what could I have done differently? And sometimes there's nothing you could have done differently. There will always be somebody that's a little better, that somebody who has an edge in a particular situation. And so you've got to account for that. You've got to deal with that. And so failure or not getting what I want has just been a catalyst for me to keep moving, keep trying. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong direction for what I'm doing. I don't believe in giving up. I don't believe in no. So I just keep at it.
So this is a fun one. What unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
I don't know how to answer that one, because if it's something I love, it probably doesn't seem unusual or absurd to me. It's the norm. I'm not sure I'm not sure I have an answer.
So I'll tell you, well, everything's relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had some answers like they're addicted to gummy bears. Someone else said they like to, some I can't publish, obviously. But what's another one? Someone else said they liked anime. I've never seen it, but I think that's a video game or video something on, that my son, it's really, he loves. So yeah, so it's things like that. I mean, those are kind of some of the things that, what's some other ones? I think someone else was like more of a neat freak. I think this, obsessive compulsive, I think is the way he described it. Is like, if he comes home from a trip and he sees a dish in the sink, he goes straight to, don't even put his luggage down. It's like washing the dish. It's like, yeah, I just can't get through it. Anyway, things like that. So.
Okay, well, I think I've as I listen to you name those things, I think I've had all of those things in various stages. When I litigated, I used to always eat the day before the trial or the day before the initial court appearance, I would have a rare steak. And it just wasn't right if I couldn't get my steak, my rare steak. I've had my gummy bears by the pound. I think my dentist liked that phase, but I've done the gummy bears, and definitely the OCD behavior of cleaning, and it's like you are late. That piece of dust has been there. It can stay there, but no, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull out something. It's got to be clean. It's got to be neat. No dishes in the sink ever. Is your bed made? Nobody's coming in there. Nobody's going to see you're late. Get moving. No, everything has to be in place.
Oh,
So yeah, I have those habits, and it varies which one is going to come out.
right. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus, what do you do to get back to center?
I do a number of things. I run. It is amazing how beautiful nature is when the sun is coming up early in the morning, and to just be out there with some of nature, not all of nature. Some of nature needs to go ahead and go in for the night. But to just go ahead and run, and it clears your mind. Gardening is another activity that I'm not a person that necessarily wants to be dirty or get in the dirt, but something about working in the dirt and the earth, I will have resolved whatever it is that I was thinking about or I was stressed about. Enough gardening, I've got it resolved. I can go in the house, shower, and okay, now I feel good. I also compose music, so I will do that from time to time if I'm stressed.
Awesome. Over the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to?
Probably that one last little project that somebody wants you to do that you know in your heart of hearts, it's not going to be little. Whenever they say it's a little, it's a quick, it's going to be a fully engulfed blaze in about 10 minutes as soon as you say yes. So I've learned to pace myself because if somebody said they needed it, I was going to do it. I may stay up all night doing it. I would do it. They said they needed this. And in reality, it's the types of things I'm working on. If it doesn't get done in the morning, nothing really happens. It's not like, oh, this person needs this life-saving surgery, and I'm tired now. I'm not going to do it. So I've learned to pace myself, help the client set up realistic expectations. And there are occasions where you've got to, just drop everything and take care of whatever it is. But for the most part, most of the requests don't fall in that category.
What purchase of $100 or less has positively impacted your life over the last 6 months or recent memory?
Trying to think of anything I even purchased. $100 or less. I don't know that I've actually even purchased anything. I'm still in the process of what is all this stuff in my house and where did it come from? I've kind of taken a new tack. Don't bring anything else back in this house. You've got things that you haven't used, haven't looked at. And so I'm more instead of bringing it in, I'm trying to push everything out.
Why is that?
Don't need it. Not using it. I probably used it when I bought it, but I'm not now. And depending on what it is, it may be something that somebody else can get a lot of value out of and somebody else can use.
How has failure, or I think I asked you that one, the failure one. What's the best or most worthwhile investment you've ever made? And it could be anything.
I would say it's a time investment. I started doing volunteer work in a legal clinic, And it just didn't dawn on me how much people needed that legal resource, how much they needed somebody to listen to what they had to say and try to give them some guidance and some direction. They weren't asking for complicated, involved things. It was just things that I probably took for granted as, basic information. Here's what you need to do here. They hadn't been exposed to that. And so to me, it was a time investment. And I just think it was so worth it to be able to pass something on to somebody else that was useful.
What life lessons have you learned?
How long is this interview? A lot of life lessons. I believe every day is a learning experience, is a life lesson. It's being able to recognize what that lesson is. And I often stop during the day to say, okay, what is it I'm supposed to be learning about this experience? I may not be happy with the experience at the moment. But I said, okay, I'm supposed to be learning something. Aside from resolving whatever that issue is, I'm supposed to be learning something about life from this. So it's how to deal with people, understanding that everyone's reaction to you is not necessarily about you. It could be about anything going on in their life at that given moment, and being able to really just assess life, step back. It's not always about me. I don't know why it isn't, but it isn't. And really say, what do I need to learn here? What can I take from this situation and use and improve on going forward? Or what, in my experience, can I maybe pass on to the person that I'm dealing with that may be of assistance to them? Everyone has something, you can learn something from everyone. And that's how I approach life and people.
What's the best place you've ever lived or traveled?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
What's the first place, I'm sorry, the best place you've ever lived or traveled?
I think the best place I've lived was probably Chicago. I have lived other places, but I really enjoyed Chicago. I'm loving Austin now. So I think, Chicago's kind of fading, and that 45 below weather is just really pushing it back. But I liked that as a place to live. It's changed, like everywhere and everything. It has changed. Do I want to move back? No. I'm liking Austin. The weather is a little bizarre, but it's not extreme like Chicago. I loved visiting Europe because it gave me a perspective of how others view the US and how others view America. We watch all of our news and our stuff, but if you turn to either BBC or any other country's news and you look at how they report the craziness that's going on in the US and what we're doing and experiencing, you get a whole new perspective as to, how we're perceived in the world.
Absolutely. Being in the military and traveling, it's, that's one of the reasons why they stopped allowing us to wear our uniforms, because you know, that reason, the way we're viewed. And people don't realize, I mean, they look at everything, you know, when
Mhm.
I worked for President Obama a couple of times, and one of the times I was in Afghanistan, and there was one guy here. It was like every year he would have this festival in like this small, like Minnesota, I mean, somewhere, you know, that we wouldn't even think twice about, but they would see it. And what he would do, it was something about the Quran and, you know, all of that. And so every it was like, I think it was, and it was actually the day that they started Ramadan. And so, you know, it's the most disrespectful thing, you know, that you can do for a country that is really big on their cult, on their spirituality and religion. And so we had to, I mean, so leading up to that, we were like getting ready, because
Mhm.
every year during that time that he would have this, like I said, this guy, the media in the US rarely covered it, but you know, it didn't matter because they
Mhm.
knew it. And something just that small, because they don't get that, you know, this little guy in Minnesota doesn't really have big, you know, a lot to do with everybody in our country, but because
Mhm.
there, when something like that happens, it affects everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's, you know, that's why with my kids, I'm like, I want them to travel overseas. I mean, you know, if you can travel overseas, you respect the US a whole lot more.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, yeah. So whew, that's a whole other story there. Whew, Lord. Um, what do you see as your place or your purpose in life?
I think my purpose is to learn as much as I can and to share that knowledge with others. It does no good if I learn it and keep it to myself. I need to share it with others, as it will help them. My parents always told me as I was growing up, you need to make mistakes, but you don't need to make every mistake that's out there. So my thought is if there's something that I can tell someone or help someone with to help them avoid a mistake that, you know, they don't need to experience. They can bypass that one because there are others out there that they can make. And to, you know, ease the way for someone else. So I look at, you know, my interactions with newer attorneys and things that I wish I would have known, you know, as I was approaching, how do I relate to a client, or how do I deal with a particular situation? You know, how do you deal with showing up at the law firm to take a deposition and the receptionist tells you, well, court reporters need to go sit over there. That's nice. When I see one, I'll let her know that. And, you know, have them just kind of look at you like, oh, okay. So being able, you know, I could have made a scene, I could have blown it. What was the purpose in that? So it's learning and being able to pass that knowledge on so that others can benefit from it.
You know, that's why, you know, a lot of times when people ask, you know, why do you put Black on everything? And I say, because I'm Black, and it's important. It's important because, you know, contrary to, you know, what you believe, there's not a lot of little girls from Alabama doing what I do. You know, I mean,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? What is it? What's her name? Who worked for Bush? Who was it? It's not Condoleezza. She's from Alabama. Was it was it Condoleezza?
I think she was from Alabama.
Yeah. And you know, so it's rare. It's very rare, you know, and a lot of times we're first in doing a lot of things, right? And just like you said, I mean, that's education. So every time you have to tell somebody, you know, excuse me. Yeah, you know, I was an officer, and one of the other top tens, I think he was a doctor, and you know, the rank lieutenant colonel, which is a very high rank in the military. It also is a dark leaf. It also looks like the specialist rank, and people would assume, you know, right? And so, because when you see an officer, you have to salute if they're higher, you know, and it's always, they will assume you're the less rank way more than the high, you know, and it's
It can be a challenge. Going from being a litigator to corporate in-house legal, it's, people, well, you're the only one. Yes. And I won't be when I leave.
And that's, you got it. So that's a great lead into this next question is how do you give back?
By sharing information, be it sharing a job lead, sharing a reference, coaching. I've done a lot of coaching and mentoring and helping people understand what's going on and why things happened. You did X and here's the response you got. Next time, try doing Y and watch how the response changes and then be prepared to move forward and explaining that, because a lot of times people, you don't understand why. It wasn't that you were wrong, but this is how the game is played. And so if you don't have someone that can provide that information to you, then you're going to be at a disadvantage always. And so I think being a mentor, being just an advisor, and I've pulled people aside that I didn't even know and say, hey, let's talk for a minute. And you may not appreciate what I'm about to say, and I'm okay with that. But I just feel I need to say it.
And I'm not sure if I asked you this one, but what advice would you give your younger self?
Yes, we did cover that.
Okay.
And that was to relax.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It's always, what's your superpower?
Being able to listen. A lot of times we're hearing things and we're so busy formulating what we're getting ready to say in response to it. We haven't really listened. You listen to what the person is saying. You also listen for what they're not saying. Listen to what their body language is saying to you while they're speaking to you. So I would say listening.
What's your favorite book or a book you recommend?
I read a variety of books. I went through a phase where everything I read was a business book and everything, how to do this, how to do this. And then I just got on this kick where if it's not a murder mystery that has nothing to do with anything in reality, not one based on reality, just out there kind of mystery, that's what I read. That's what I use to unwind. So if I'm getting ready for bed and it may be 2 pages because I may be bone tired. I've been staring at a computer screen all day long. Here comes the Kindle. And the good thing about Kindle, when I fall asleep on it, it'll remember what page I was on, unlike the hard copy of the book where you fall asleep and it closes and you're like, okay, did I read that or not? It's just a random miscellaneous mystery and trying to figure out who did it, and piecing together the clues.
Yeah, I think I was thinking one of the other lawyers, she was, I think it was Revlin, she was talking about one of her, like you said, everything's relative, right? Is she loved watching like murder, like some type of murder type, something crazy like that, that like something, and she's like, I really enjoy it. It's like, it relaxes me. It's like, and she's like, her friends are like, what? What? But it's, it takes, it just takes all kinds, right? For us. And that's what I love about this is that, you guys are, you're extraordinary in your own way, but none of you are the same. Everybody is so different, right? And then you're similar in a lot of different ways as well. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Do you have kids?
No.
Okay. So so there's a question I always ask but how do you think people will remember you?
Hopefully as someone who tried to do things for others and took caring for others as being important.
How do you want to be remembered?
As someone who cared for others, someone who extended herself to help someone else.
And why do you think it's important to, like you shared, you give that hard advice to people sometimes, why? And that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift because you're pouring into somebody else, and a lot of times people remember those things that will help them to be better. Why is that important to you?
Because I think we're put on this earth to help one another. And we've gotten so far away from helping one another. We're into helping myself mode, and everybody's me, 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 me. And I can get ahead and I can get to where I want to be helping somebody else. I don't always have to do everything that's focused on me. And so, and that's not to say that you don't take the time for yourself and that you don't consider yourself important, worthy, or qualified for something, but there's a balance. And I think the world has kind of gotten way off balance to it's me and the heck with how it impacts anybody else or anything else. And I just think that it's important that we stay centered and focused on how can I help someone else? Because in helping someone else, I am truly helping myself. And I will benefit from it. I may not see it at the moment. What is that? What was the benefit I got out of spending 8 hours doing XYZ with somebody? But I can guarantee that somewhere, if you live long enough, you will see that benefit. And I've seen it in life where it's, years later, oh, you know what? I'm in another situation. Why don't we try XYZ? I wouldn't have known about that if I hadn't taken the time to help somebody else do something else. And that person, you never know what that person knows that can help you. It's not a one-way street. It's not just, oh, go help this person, help that. They're helping me as much as I'm helping them.
Who's your favorite person?
My favorite
person.
I would have to say my parents. And I pick them because they poured into us as their children. And they weren't perfect. They aren't perfect. But they gave all that they had and then some.
What are you most proud of?
I would say my ability to just keep moving forward, to keep a positive attitude. And that doesn't mean I'm Susie Sunshine every 5 minutes of the day, because I'm not. People would avoid my office before 9:30. It's like, okay, has she had enough caffeine yet? Okay, now we'll go in there. Otherwise, maybe bring a can of Coke with you when you go in there. It's just in case she hasn't had enough caffeine or enough sugar yet. But I would say the ability to just keep moving forward. Okay, there's a monkey wrench. I had a plan. That's all well and good. That's not how life is working out. So if you had plan A, what's B, C, D? And if you have to get to E, F, and G, you just keep moving.
Absolutely. What do you enjoy doing in your leisure time?
Running, playing golf, although I haven't done a lot of that in recent years. Spending time with family, reading a good book, composing music, playing with the dog. With COVID, the dog has become my new assistant. When it's time for a break, she'll take her head and she'll come bump my elbow because I'll be steadily typing on the keyboard. She's like, okay, enough. It's time for a break. She recognizes when I'm getting ready to hang up from a call. And so she'll sit there quietly. And as soon as I say those final words, she's like, okay, it's my turn.
Yeah, I have a Airedale, and she's really smart. They're very smart, intuitive,
Yes.
Animals, that's for sure. So what does it mean to be chosen as one of our top 10 lawyers, super lawyers, actually?
I think it's a huge honor. I go about doing what I do, not for recognition, but it's just what I do and it's who I am. And so to be recognized for that is important, and it means a lot.
Well, that is my last question. Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
I just want to encourage others, be it lawyers, doctors, electricians, I don't care what you do. My parents always said, whatever you're doing, do the best you can at it. Work hard at it. Learn that craft, learn that skill. And when you get tired of that one, learn a new one.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you.
Just absolutely amazing. Well, I hope I will see you and meet you in person on the 20th. Is your family here? Are they here?
They're here.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully, we're requiring some COVID, got a COVID protocol. So trying to make sure everybody's healthy and, mitigate some risks. So hopefully we'll get to see everybody.
Yes. I did have a question regarding tickets. Are there individual tickets, just tables?
Yeah, so they're individual tickets. We're trying to encourage the tables just because of COVID, so that way, who, you kind of know who right? Okay, well, we better watch this one, but yeah, but of course, I can send you a link for the individual tickets.
Okay.
But who do you work with? Of course, I don't know what the company that you work with, but
Axiom.
Yeah, we can definitely call them on your behalf and see if they want to do a, we try to get the companies to recognize that this is important.
That actually would be good.
Okay, because it's important, it's important to let them know that now you're on the radar in the community, right? That their company is in the radar, because people already know you or know of you. And that's a lot of times what people will tell me is they'll say, I saw her, or I heard her here, but I never thought I'd get to meet them. You guys are like superstars to people in the community. It's for real. And so, this really does help to kind of make you guys kind of human, So, but it's also, we also, tell the company, that means that you did a great job in picking someone who, not only is a superstar, but they're giving back to their community and they're respected in the community. So, yeah, I'll definitely get Dr. Alvin the call. He's pretty good with the calls. Is there anybody in particular? But usually they have, well, you guys, I don't know if you have a PR team, but we're pretty good at, all you have to do is give us permission.
Go for it. Contact them.
And even
by all
people
means.
that you've worked with before, a lot of times they're, extremely proud of, to say, hey,
Mhm.
you worked for us, right? She worked. So we get a lot of that as well. Because, believe it or not, people who don't look like us, they like to take credit for our success.
Yes.
So, but awesome. Well, like I said, so we always tell you guys to hold off because usually, it's never been a no, honestly. We've never had,
Okay.
just because we let them know how important this is for for them also, because let me tell you, the techies, lawyers, we know that there's a lot of lawyers, but the technologists now, it's just amazing, the amount and the breadth of folks. And when we do the list, it's always interesting because, we start with like a whole bunch of folks, right? Start kind of, I have to go and do my research. And so I know you guys see me like cyber stalking you online and, just to see, because, it's like, people give you nominations and then I have, go back and like look for different things, looking for key things, and so it really is, it's just great that the whole top row is like women, it's pretty amazing. And so, yeah, so I had some guys were like, what happened? I was like, hey, y'all got to step up your game. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, when I looked at the list, it was like, okay, I know of that person. I know of that person. But it was great to see the other names and to be able to look them up and to say, okay, there's somebody else out there, because with COVID, you don't see people, and being in-house, it's not like being in court where you get to see people all the time. You don't see folks. And, even when you're negotiating on the phone, you're on the phone negotiating. It's not like it's in person. And so it's like, wow, okay, here's some more people.
Amazing.
I can get to know.
Pretty amazing women, I'm telling you. So, well, I'm honored and I can't wait to meet you in person. So
I can't wait either. It'll be great.
All right. Well, I look forward to it, and we'll keep you posted. Tomorrow, I'm sure Alvin will call tomorrow, and we'll let you know.
Okay.
Things are working out.
And if I think of anybody, I may think of a couple other companies maybe to have you reach out to.
Yeah, because let me tell you, I did. I also have a magazine in Round Rock, and one of the ladies she was a lawyer for Round Rock ISD. She was their counsel. And you, of course, Round Rock, they can sponsor, but she's like, you know what? I work with 3 companies that she's like, oh, I know these guys and I work with these guys, and every single company, and you just tell them like, hey, she said she worked for you guys and thought you guys would be interested in knowing that she's, doing this, and and that's, she and that's because she didn't work for them. Now, when you work for them, we don't say that you told us, we just tell them that I think it's a good idea. So
okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon. Can't wait to see y'all.
Right.
You're always gorgeous, but I'm sure
thank you.
even more so. So
yeah, I have to dust off some clothes.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. That's why I love, after being in the military for 20 years, it's like, anytime I can dress up. And then now since COVID, we haven't done an event in 2 years. So
yeah. Wow.
I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see you soon, and you take care.
Okay.
All right.
You do the same. Bye-bye.
And you rocking it, girl. Oh my God. Seriously.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Love it. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.